Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. It's breaking news, and the breaking news is that John Murtough is leaving Manchester United this week after 10 years at Manchester United Football Club. If you say to any Manchester United fan the name John Murtough, there is many differing views, but I think everyone can say that his place at the football club has rightly come to an end, and INEOS have started to get the wheels moving. There's a lot coming out in this Athletic article. Other journalists have come out with little bits and bobs. Jason Wilcoz, when is he starting? What's happening to Darren Fletcher? When is Dan Asworth coming in? What is going to be the INEOS structure come the summer? Are we going to have a director of football in place? Who is going to handle the transfer window? Because everyone can say John Murtough needs to leave the football club, and he absolutely does. We've said that for a long time. But who is going to step in his position? How are we going to handle this summer? The reality is Dan Asworth isn't in yet. Jason Wilcoz hopes to be in soon, but he's not here yet. Who is going to handle this, and how are we going to go about one of our most important summer transfer windows in a very long time? But starting off, John Murtough is leaving Manchester United at the end of this week. What do you think? Initial thoughts in the comments. One thing I will say is Richard Arnold and John Murtough both gone in the space of 6 months. INEOS has come in and they are starting to make some moves. It could be a completely blank canvas, a completely fresh start very soon. Who is going to lead that as the manager though? That is the question as well. We're going to get into this article right now, so get in the comments what you're thinking on this. I mean, I've always been told by people who work very closely with the club, obviously I'm not going to name names, that John Murtough is laughed at in the footballing world, especially when dealing with Manchester United and dealing with transfers. So it is important that he moves on. But who's going to come in and replace him? And well, we know it's going to be Dan Asworth, but how quickly is he going to get in as well? So starting off, coming from The Athletic, football director John Murtough to leave Manchester United this week after 10 years at the club. Exit before the summer is seen as best. Jason Wilcoz set to arrive as technical director. Other staff stepping up in the interim, Dan Asworth later. So currently, Darren Fletcher is technical director. Jason Wilcoz is coming in and taking over that role. But Darren Fletcher is staying at the football club. More on that in a second. This is in the article as well. We'll get into what his role could potentially be. But John Murtough, how do I sum up his 10 years at the club? He never should have been a director of football. He was never qualified to be a director of football. When you look at other director of footballs for top clubs in the footballing world, John Murtough is absolutely nowhere near the level. Our recruitment has been appalling since he's come in and taken over that role. And I'm not just saying the names that we've signed and the players we've signed. I'm talking about the deals that we've done. I'm talking about flying to Turin, flying to Barcelona last year to go and get Rabiot and De Jong and coming back with absolutely nothing. I'm talking about the waste of time that we've had during John Murtough's tenure. So it is important that he leaves the club, but who he's going to take over is the most important aspect as well. Also coming out that director of football John Murtough has stepped down from his post and will leave the club this week. Stepped down, shifted out by INEOS. We all know that means. Manchester United hope Jason Wilcoz will start work as technical director in the coming weeks, provided an agreement can be reached with Southampton on compensation. So Laurie Whitwell, leading this article, has been saying that Manchester United are very confident that they're going to be able to get Jason Wilcoz in before the summer. Coming in from Southampton, we spoke about Jason Wilcoz many times on the show before. Did a brilliant job at Manchester City, linking the youth team to the youth development to the first team. Done good work at Southampton as well, really like INEOS, coming in to be our technical director and continue that sort of work and bring it into Manchester United. He is going to basically have to step up because he's supposed to be working under Dan Asworth. That is what I'm led to believe by the reports that are coming out, that Jason Wilcoz will report to Dan Asworth, but Dan Asworth isn't going to be able to be at Manchester United yet because we're not going to be able to agree compensation with Newcastle for the summer. It's very doubtful. So we're going to go into this summer without a director of football, it looks like, and Jason Wilcoz is going to step up. I mean, can't do much worse than what John Murtough's done, let's be honest, and I think it's good that John Murtough's leaving, but it is really worrying and really scary to me that we are going into our most important summer transfer window with no director of football. And speaking to Fabrizio Romano yesterday, I mean, I've been speaking to Romano a while. he still doesn't know if Manchester United are going for a more experienced striker or a youthful striker. He knows what our priority positions are, but he doesn't know who exactly that we're going to narrow it down to. One, probably because INEOS haven't even made a decision on who the manager's going to be yet, and obviously he's got to have a say. And two, because we don't have any director of football to run things through right now. So this is the time where big clubs are supposed to be preparing their summer transfer windows. They know who the target A, B, C are. They're making contacts with agents. We've not even decided what we're doing yet. And we don't have a director of football. So who is going to be leading this summer transfer window, which is hugely important. Obviously, I'm glad that John Murtough isn't going to be leading it, because he's led us down absolute blind alleys for years on end. And he's had very poor transfer windows at Manchester United. But the fact of the matter is, we're supposed to be going into this summer transfer window with our structure in place. We're getting there, and it looks like it's going to be an excellent structure, but I don't think it's going to be fully in place for this summer, and that is slightly worrying. It then comes out as well that Darren Fletcher remains Manchester United's technical director at present. Obviously, Wilcox is going to take over that role, and the club want him to stay under an alternative title, which is not yet finalised. What Mark Ogden's come out and said, that Darren Fletcher is going to stay at the club, and what is assumed and what is being talked about is that he's going to work in a role linking the youth team to the Manchester United first team, and it will be confirmed in the summer, that sort of role. So I think that's where Darren Fletcher would probably work best. I mean, I've spoke to Darren Fletcher. He seems like a lovely guy, and he seems like he knows what he's talking about as well. I know that he's been spoken about a lot in terms of the fan base saying, you know, jobs for the boys, we're just employing people because we know them, because we're mates. I actually think Darren Fletcher is, if INEOS think he's capable, I mean, they've shipped out John Murtough, Richard Arnold has gone, they're not afraid to make these decisions. Darren Fletcher, if he wasn't good enough, would be leaving this football club. So I think he is good enough, and I think that's a role that probably suits him more, linking the academy to the first team, probably working with Jason Wilcoz as well. Everyone's got their own roles in this INEOS cog, and the wheels are starting to turn, and we're starting to build an actual structure, and we're starting to look like a serious football club. The only drawback is I don't think this is going to be in place for the summer. And that's really important, because we need to get this starting, we need to get it cracking as soon as possible. And it leads me back to the question, I mean, the Sir Jim deal only got finalised at Christmas. You can't do everything at once. You know, we're not the type of club anymore where you just go in and say, I'm taking your director of football, I'm taking your technical director, and all the other clubs just go, all right, that's fine, you crack on. That doesn't happen. Places are going to want compensation, clubs are going to want compensation, and they're going to make it difficult, especially clubs like Newcastle, which we've already seen. So it's taking longer than maybe that what was initially expected to get this structure in place, and it just leads me to think, why couldn't we finalise this deal earlier? I mean, the sale process of Manchester United felt like it went on for an absolute eternity. If we would have got the sale finalised last summer, we could have been in a place this summer to be going in all guns blazing, coming out swinging, and this is going to be the start of INEOS. This is going to be the start of Sir Jim's reign. But it feels like we're not actually going to be able to fully get lift off this summer, because even though we're making these good appointments, and do not get me wrong, like, compared to where we've been at with the likes of Richard Arnold running our summer transfer windows, not summer transfer windows, the likes of Richard Arnold being our CEO and John Murtough running our summer transfer windows, we are going up levels. Of course we are. I mean, Omar Barada is CEO. Very, very happy. I mean, that shook the whole footballing world. Dan Ashworth is director of football. He's got a very good CV. Jason Wilcoz, looking into what he's done in the past, especially in what he's done at Manchester City and the likes of talents he's been involved with. That's a big tick on the books. I mean, Jean-Claude Blanc is another one that his history speaks for itself. We are appointing best in class, and we are putting a very, very good team together, in my opinion. My only issue is, this summer, when we need it most, currently we're undecided on even whether Ten Hag's going to be our manager. I mean, we need a complete clear out, we need a complete fresh start with the squad. Who's going to be leading this, and how are we going to be able to kick it off? Because right now, I genuinely believe that people in Man United do not know what's going on. We don't know who we're going for in the summer yet. It's April, by the way. Soon it'll be May. The summer transfer window opens in June. Things need to start cracking, and I don't think we have any idea what we're doing going into the summer. And that's the part where I'm I'm worried. But all in all, the fact that Murtough's going, I think, is a massive, massive positive, and it's been a long time coming. Get in the chat what you guys are thinking though, and get in the chat how you're feeling about this. We've got Andre Smith saying with a super chat in MU. I mean, Man United, okay. The Irish Zombie says, great news. If we get Southgate though, it means nothing. I'm going to speak about that. And Tom Grant says it's imperative that we need time frames with the incomings. Exactly. What's worrying me is at the moment the only insurances we have is that INEOS hope that Jason Wilcoz is going to be in for the summer and Dan Ashworth soon. We don't have any timeframes on the one this is happening. I do not doubt these are great appointments and we are going in the right direction, but it means nothing for our summer if they're not in before the summer starts, because who's going to be leading it? Who's going to be leading the summer? And that's what we need. And I don't blame Sir Jim Ratcliffe for this. I don't blame INEOS for this, because what were they supposed to do? Do you know what I mean? Like, they want Dan Ashworth, they want the guy, they've been patient around the guy, but paying, 20 odd million to Newcastle, even though realistically in the grand scheme of things, that money is nothing. For a sporting director, it's absolutely foolish. And we also want to set the record straight to everyone in the footballing world that we're not going to be taken for a ride. We're not going to be taking the mick out of. It's very important that early in the INEOS days, we set the precedent that we are not the Man United of old who will pay ridiculous money because we don't have any alternatives. We are going to be patient. We are going to wait to get our guy, and we're not paying absurd prices. So even though I'd love to go and just pay out the Dan Ashworth release clause, I can understand why they're not doing it, even though realistically it would save us more money in the future. But we're in the situation where if this deal would have got finalised earlier, we could have been going into the summer with a complete fresh look about us. And I don't doubt the appointments. I'm very pleased with the appointments. It's just whether they'll be in or not for the summer, and I don't think they will. I think we're going to be looking in a situation where we're like, next summer, that's when everything's going to come together. We need it now. We're not in a time to wait. But the appointments I'm very, very happy with, by the way, especially if you do your research on Jason Wilcoz, Dan Ashworth. The only thing that bugs me about Dan Ashworth is his relationship with Southgate, because, like I said, it looks like Manchester United now, they're going to have a complete clean slate. We've got new owners, granted it's only 25%, new director of football, new CEO, new board members. Who knows if we'll have a new manager? But we've a new technical director. We are starting a complete, brand new, clean slate. Manchester United have wiped the slate clean from the board and from who's in them positions that massively matter behind the scenes. We have wiped that slate clean, and we are going again with who INEOS think are best in class, and they are good appointments. But my only issue is, if we sack Ten Hag and bring in Gareth Southgate to head up that new, fresh Manchester United INEOS start, I'll absolutely lose it. I'll lose it, because it's just such a waste. Like, if you think about it, you've got a setup. Manchester United did have Richard Arnold and John Murtough. We've now got a setup where you have Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, Dan Ashworth. You've got Jean-Claude Blanc on the board. Blanc. You've got Jean-Claude Blanc on the board. And if you go into a situation where you create that setup and then you place Gareth Southgate to be your manager, it completely fails. Why would you do that? Like, why? It doesn't work. It's like completely prepping the perfect honeymoon. You've booked the dream location in a place with amazing weather, the sun's shining, the beaches, white sand beaches. You've got a beautiful, gorgeous hotel. You've got everything you would want. You've got 5-star cuisine coming at you left, right and centre. You've even got a private plane to go there. You've booked the absolute works. But you get there and all you've packed with you is winter coats. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, you've done everything right, but then you've got there and you can't execute it, because Gareth Southgate isn't the manager to lead this. So I don't want to get onto Gareth Southgate, but I just think it'd be such a shame if Manchester United build this structure and we don't go with the right manager. And I'm not saying that Man United have to keep Erik ten Hag, by the way. I want to keep Erik ten Hag. I'm not saying Manchester United have to keep Erik ten Hag. But if they were to get rid of ten Hag, they've got to go with someone who is right for Manchester United. And Gareth Southgate just does not suit this project. People can say, well, he's got relationships with Sir Dave Brailsford. They can say he's got a brilliant relationship with Dan Ashworth. I don't care. He's not good enough to be a Manchester United manager. End of story. Like, no one can convince me otherwise. No one can. Got some more super chats coming in as well. Planet Faz says, good example, Beth, made me laugh. I'm not quite on the Goldbridge analogies yet, but I'm trying to get there. James English says, although not ideal, is a Wilcox and Barada summer better than an Arnold and Murtough summer? Well, that's what I want to talk about, because, like I've just said, even though these are great appointments and I am happy with the direction we're going in, it is unfortunate that they won't be in for the summer. Like, realistically, what this summer's going to be, let's be frank about it, it's going to be Barada and Wilcox and Dan Ashworth on his burner phone in his garden. I mean, let's hope the sun's out for him. Let's hope the sun's out for him. I mean, the weather at the moment is absolutely atrocious. Let's hope we get a sunny summer, because Dan Ashworth is going to need, you know, about 10 different phones that have been hacked left, right and centre to make sure Newcastle can't get into him, knowing he's secretly communicating with Manchester United. I mean, we are Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world. And this summer transfer window, at the moment, looks like it's going to be Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox working together with Dan Ashworth on his burner phone from his garden. And you would ask me, would I rather Dan Ashworth be in place, who is going to be obviously the main guy that is leading recruitment for Manchester United? Absolutely. Absolutely, I would. He has been locked out of his computer with all of his latest scouting analysis. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. Would I rather be him in place? Absolutely. But if you offered me now John Murtough going into this summer, leading it, or Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, with maybe the occasional WhatsApp from Dan Ashworth burner phone, I'd pick the second choice. I think it is important. It says in this article, you know, it's seen by INEOS that it's important that John Murtough leaves before the summer. And I think it is, because realistically, what has John Murtough been doing this year? What's he been doing? He's been flying out to Barcelona. He's been trying to keep good relationships. But we're absolutely no further down the line of what Manchester United want to do in the summer. And John Murtough, realistically, what has he done this season? What has he done to help us towards this summer transfer window? Nothing, because we don't know what we're doing yet. And John Murtough is part of the Manchester United of old. OK, we might not have everyone in place going into the summer, and that is slightly worrying, because INEOS are obviously probably going to lead it through Omar Barada, I think he's going to be a brilliant CEO, but he's not a sporting director. But we are going to lead it through him. I genuinely do believe that. But realistically, they're the Man United of new. They're part of the new project. They're part of the fresh start. For John Murtough to carry on his job into the summer, even though we've not got Dan Ashworth, it doesn't make much sense, really, if you think about it, because he's of the Man United of old and he's not going to be part of this new project. He's not at the level that INEOS deem fit enough to be running Manchester United. He's not the best-in-class model that they're going with. So, OK, it's going to be a bit topsy-turvy. Topsy-turvy? It's going to be a bit topsy-turvy going into the summer, and I am gutted that we're not going to have everything in place. And I do think... one thing I would say is people are going to be massively judging this summer transfer window by INEOS. It's the first summer transfer window with them in the club, officially. It's their first summer transfer window. It's their first transfer window. They're going to be judging it, and they're going to be going through it with a fine-tooth comb. I don't think this summer transfer window will run the way I expect future summer transfer windows to run under INEOS, because this time next year, I assume Dan Ashworth will be fully in the job, we'll have our whole structure sorted out, and we'll have been planning recruitment and transfers for months on end. This year, we still don't know what we're doing, because we've not even been able to get people in yet. Never mind thinking about Erik ten Hag's job and where that's at. And then when people want to judge Erik ten Hag next season, like, it sounds like I'm making excuses for Ten Hag, but if Ten Hag does stay, people want to judge him, and they'll say, well, he's had this summer transfer window under INEOS. It still won't be the full proper structure of INEOS. It still won't be. It still will be rushed. We still don't know what we're doing. I mean, other clubs will have made moves by now. We don't even know who our top targets are, because we've had to wait so long for all of these different appointments. At the moment, it is a bit of a mess, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and it's absolutely good news that we're moving in the right direction. Like I said, you know, we've not had a car for so long. We've finally brought a car. We've finally got a car to get to our destination. It's a place you can't walk. It's a destination you can't walk to. You've got to get in a car to go there. We finally got our car. We've got the engine working. The wheels are starting to turn. We just need to gain some momentum now, and we need to get everything fully in place, and that's not happened yet. But the engine's turned on, and we're starting to move. That's the most important part. Let me get some of your chats in today. Faz, you're making me laugh. David Mean says, Mark asked us if we get rid of Ten Hag, who can replace him with? Inzaghi, Girona manager. These are competent managers that Eric Ten Hag would manage players is much better. It's lazy saying there is none. Yeah, there is managers out there. I mean, this show is purely for the John Murtough breaking news. I really want to get into Eric Ten Hag and why I think he should be given another summer and another year. But I mean, I don't think I should get into it now. In the chat, should I get into it now? Because I have new things that I want to bring up to kind of back up this argument. But I don't know if this show is the right time to do so. But let me know if you would want to hear that. So I wrote something down in my notes that I wanted to speak about. New ownership. New chief. Yeah, I think I've spoken about everything there. I think I've spoken about everything. I thought there was something else I needed to say. But Mark is worried that we don't have a director of football going into the summer. But the fact of the matter is, John Murtough leaving is something that every Manchester United fan has wanted for a long, long time. He has been laughed at in the footballing world as being our sporting director. We are no longer a club that is going to be laughed at under INEOS. We are no longer a club that is going to be taken for a ride. We've shown that with the Dan Ashworth negotiations already. We are a club that is going to appoint best in class. Omar Barada shook the whole footballing world. Sadly, we are a club going into this summer transfer window with a makeshift transfer team. And that is slightly disappointing because I really wanted to go in all guns blazing this summer. But I really don't think there's much plan there. We don't know what striker we're going for. We don't know if we're going to have money for a midfielder. The only decision we have made so far is that we're definitely going to let Rafael Varane go. And even that I'm not massively in agreement with. So there is pros, there is cons to this happening. But if you look at the bigger picture, it is absolutely the right thing to do to let John Murtough go before the summer starts. It's absolutely the right thing to do. And if you look at the bigger picture and you look and you think of patience, this will pay off. People are desperate for success. People are desperate for this to happen now. People are desperate for it to work. We've been under the cosh of the Glazers and terrible ownership for years on end. People are desperate for this to happen now. But realistically, we are on the way up. We are looking like a more serious football club. We are looking like we are going places under INEOS. But the problem is, I don't think it'll happen this summer. And that's the drawback. We're going to need even more patience. Do you remember when the sale was happening and, you know, we were told it was April, then we were told it was before the summer, then it was going to be after the transfer window in August, then it went to Christmas Eve. It won't be that long, but Dan Ashworth won't be in before the summer. Dan Ashworth soon. I'd be amazed if he's in before the summer. I'd be absolutely amazed if we pull that off. Dan Ashworth is huge in this piece of the chess, and we're going to be missing him. So this summer transfer window, I don't think will be completely straightforward, and I do think it's still going to be a rocky ride. That's disappointing, but ultimately, looking at the long-term vision of Manchester United, we're definitely on a clearer path, and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's what the most important thing is right now. Eric Ten Hag says next year we will have a new manager, but the same misfit players. Jim Ratcliffe is the 7th Glazer. I don't agree that Jim Ratcliffe is the 7th Glazer. I'm going to be honest. I actually think that, I know that amazing people on this channel can have different opinions. I think Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are making a very good start. I'm very happy with what they've done so far. If they get Southgate, I will completely 360 and question everything about them, 100%. But things are changing. How can you say that things are not changing when Richard Arnold's gone? We've got a new CEO, we're getting a new sporting director, we've got a new technical director, and all of the people that we are getting in are highly respected in the footballing world and have great CVs. How can you not say that things are changing? What is going to be a test is, because I'm not completely, over the hill now, they've still got things to prove. What are two big tests for me to judge INEOS in the summer? Very happy with what they've done so far, but here are two big tests which they could fail on and could make me change my mind. First big test, we've got to be ruthless going into the summer transfer window, whether it's Omar Barada and Jason Wilcoz or whoever it is, whether it's Sir Jim Ratcliffe himself heading out on these trips. I mean, it won't be. But we have got to be ruthless. We are under tight restrictions with financial fair play, which is amazing considering the amount of revenue we make, but we are, because of horrible past transfer decisions. We need to be ruthless. If players aren't good enough, if players aren't there that are going to be able to win Manchester United titles and take us back to the top, see you later. Bye. Adios. We need to make money. We need to make money. We don't want to be thinking, oh, but he's good around the place. Oh, but, maybe he deserves another chance. He's not quite had this. No. If players aren't good enough, they need to be gone. We need to be ruthless and we need to sell. We need to sell this summer. I'm going to be looking at that. We have been told that there's going to be massively high standards set. Let's see. Let's see that in the summer, and let's see if we actually make a splash and we sell players that we wouldn't usually sell and would just hang around. We need to make sure that we sell a lot of the deadwood around the football club. That's a big, big, big factor that I'm going to be judging the INEOS setup with this summer. And the other big factor for me is how they handle the manager situation. Now, I won't be INEOS and Sir Jim out if they decide to part ways with Erik ten Hag. That's their decision. What will massively, massively make me question the credibility is if they replace Erik ten Hag with a manager such as Gareth Southgate. That will massively make me question, because like I said before, why make all these amazing appointments behind the scenes and then as your manager you go with Southgate? That just is not an option for me. And again, it gives me the vibe they've employed Southgate because Dan Ashworth is mates with him, which I'm hoping it's just rumours and murmurs at the moment. I'm hoping it won't happen. So there are two things I judge INEOS in. I mean, I don't think Ten Hag should go in the summer. I want to keep Ten Hag. But if they do decide to replace him with a Nagelsmann, I'll be on board with that. Like, I can get on board with that. If they're replacing with someone who I think is good enough to be Manchester United manager, I'm with that. So the two big judgments. I'm happy with the appointments they've made. I'm unhappy they're not being able to get in before the summer, but realistically, it is a tough ask to ask them to be able to do that. What are two big things that I'm going to judge INEOS and Sir Jim Ratcliffe on now is how they handle the summer with the circumstances we're in. Are we actually going to be ruthless like we're told that you're going to be? And are you going to make the correct appointment for the manager? If they stick with Erik ten Hag, I'll be behind it. Give him time under this new structure. Let's see what you can do. I could go into why he deserves that. There's been new evidence that I've found within the last couple of days, actually, that has solidified what I've been thinking over in my head for a long time. But it's really important that we see these things from INEOS, in my opinion. But get in the comments what you're looking for, what you're judging. Because I know there's people that have many different opinions on this. There's people that are on the fence about INEOS. There's people that are absolutely with the INEOS train. For me, I'm very happy with what they've done so far. But it's not completely set, signed, sealed, delivered that, yes, these are the people. I need to judge how they're going to go about this summer transfer window and if they're going to fulfil the promises that have already been set out. Planet Faz says players are on crazy contracts, you can't just ship them out. I'm not saying that. I get that it's not FIFA career mode, I understand that. But we need to be in a position where the manager is allowed to have conversations with players and say, you are not going to be playing for me next season. You need to find yourself a new club. We need to be having them conversations. There's players that are sellable in this Manchester United team. And I know that there's people out there that want to sell the Rashfords, they want to sell the Brunos. I mean, I'm not going to go into my opinions on that. But there's people out there that want to do that. Rashford, anyone who wants to sell Rashford is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. He's on a new contract. Try and find a club who's going to pay 375 grand a week anyway. It's just not going to happen. Bruno, it's not going to happen. There's people that want these to happen. That's not going to happen. But when I'm talking about being ruthless, when I'm talking about selling players, I'm talking about Wan-Bissaka. Is he really the guy to take us forward? Scott, and I'm not saying that this is my opinions. I'm just talking about the players that are kind of fringe players. Scott McTominay, yes, he's won us 12 points off the bench. Is he a starter for Manchester United? Has he got a place in the future of Manchester United? Harry Maguire, been excellent this season when he's played his part, but should he really be staying? Victor Lindelof, how long has he been at the club for now? Is he someone that should be staying around at Manchester United? Tyrone Malacia, he's been injured for a whole year. What's going on there? I mean, people will talk about Luke Shaw, one of my favourite players at the club. You know, there's many names that you can bring in to this. Rashford ain't going anywhere. I know that. I know that there's players that have just signed contracts that you won't be able to ship out straight away. But there's multiple players there that you could sell if you have them direct conversations with them and tell them that, unfortunately, we're gonna need you to depart from the football club. There is, I mean, yes, players can dig their heels in and try and see out the contracts, but discussions need to be had and we need to be ruthless with the sales. If these players aren't for the future of this team and they're not good enough to be starting regularly for a top team in the Premier League, then we need to look elsewhere. And in order to buy our top transfer targets, we need to be making money. I'm not saying you have to spend 100 million in each position, but Romano was on the show yesterday saying United love Evan Ferguson, they love João Neves. Ideally, they'd want to sign them two players. We cannot do that if we don't sell. I mean, we won't do that anyway because I think they're too expensive and we've got too many players to go and get. But if we'd actually handled our transfers properly in the last decade, we would be able to do them deals. Told you says Arteta didn't get worse, Erik ten Hag has. There is no comparison. Tom Grant says everything is going to change now, isn't it? I mean, I think it's very, very important that it does. The Irish Zombie says Arteta finished eighth and fifth in his first 3 seasons. Time is key for any manager. Erik ten Hag finished 3rd with a cup and now 6th and a semi-final. But what they'll argue with you, Irish Zombie, is they'll argue, but Arteta had a style of play. I'm going to go into that. Producer, can I go into it? Do I have time to go into it? Told you says, we look more serious when we get a good manager in. Thank you for all your super chats that are coming in as well. Let me make sure that I've got them all there quickly. Just going to have a look. Going to talk about style of play because people are now arguing about the Arteta and Ten Hag debate. Every situation is completely different, but there are comparisons to be made. I'm going to go into that in a second. The Irish Zombie says, sack Erik ten Hag and bring in best-in-class option Southgate. If you're Erik ten Hag, fair enough, but surely you'd rather give him another season than that. I agree. James English says, although not ideal, I've done that one. Thank you, everyone, for your super chats in as well. So the style of play debate. Throughout this season, the mass media, a lot of pundits and even us on the United Stand at times, I think I might have said it earlier on in the season, have said the issue is you can't see a style of play with Ten Hag. The style of play is really poor. We don't know what we're doing with a style of play. It has come to my attention, and if you've not seen it, please go and look it up. I'm going to tell you now exactly where you can find it. You can find it on my Twitter page, actually, shameless plug. I have retweeted the original tweet, and I'm going to get it up now. This is due to Erik ten Hag and a style of play. So, at Beth MUFC on Twitter, I've quote tweeted a tweet by Eric Ten Shelby, and it's a thread and it's a discussion with Erik ten Hag talking about his tactics in an open midfield during a football talk show on national TV. And watching this really kind of confirmed what I've been thinking over the past few months, because I'm going to admit, midway through the season, I thought, like, what is our style of play? What are we doing? And then it kept happening time and time again. I thought to myself, there is a style of play here. We play high-pressing football. We play football in transition. And we do that often at times leaves huge gaps in the midfield. Erik ten Hag wants to play out from the back. He wants his fullbacks inverted, covering the space. He wants us, our forwards, to play high up the pitch, pressing, winning the ball back in transition, high turnovers. He wants us to do that. Erik ten Hag absolutely does have a style of play. So everyone's saying, but with Arteta, Even though we were losing games, you could see there was a style of play. There is absolutely a style of play here with Erik ten Hag. The problem with the style of play is it has been poor to watch for the majority of the season, and it has major holes and major issues in it. So, I mean, apart from like the Liverpool 0-0 at Anfield, where he completely parked the bus, games against City this season, Ten Hag has consistently played this style of play, and that's maybe why he's got frustrated in interviews recently, saying, I don't care if no one can see it, we are playing a style of play. The issue is the style of play hasn't paid off for us to get results. It has been bad to watch because we've left ourselves widely open, but we have played it. We've played the style of play. The problem is with the style of play is, of course, we've had an absolute freak season of injuries which have interrupted it. Also, he's signed poorly and he's not trusted his own signings. Maybe he's underestimated the physicality of the Premier League. Maybe he's underestimated the quality of the Premier League. But I think a main factor is the players that we are playing in this style of play do not have the ability to pull it off. Whether they can eventually, whether he needs more time to work on it, or whether the players just simply aren't good enough. We've not got the players that are good enough to pull it off. He speaks in these clips about Frenkie de Jong being super important to his style. And I'm not saying, you know, we can't have a manager that can only have one player to play his style. There's other players that can do this. But he's, you know, compare Frenkie de Jong to Casemiro in terms of style of play. Like, they're absolutely night and day. The fact of the matter is, we've recruited poorly and the players aren't good enough to play this style. And the quality of the Eredivisie compared to the quality of the Premier League is levels. We have nowhere near got the quality of the squad that the top teams in the Premier League have. And even, you know, the mid-table teams in the Premier League, the lower table teams in the Premier League have very good quality. It's the best league in the world. So when you get punished by high turnovers in this league, when you lose possession in this league and you have a midfield that's completely empty, you're going to get punished. That wouldn't always happen in the Eredivisie due to the lack of quality. So whether this style of play can actually work, it's a big if. But Erik ten Hag has got one, but it's a big if. I think for it to work, he needs a dual winner in the middle of the park that is very highly capable in possession. We don't currently have that. I think we need a centre-back overhaul. We absolutely do need a centre-back overhaul. We need better composure in the final third, and we need probably higher quality players in the final third. We need a lot of improvements all over the pitch. And I'm not saying, you know, we need improvements on the likes of, I mean, people are saying, does that mean you don't want Rasmus? Does that mean you don't want Garnacho? No, of course I do. I think them players are very good players, but we need depth and we need different styles of players that can do different styles of things. We need someone who can cross the ball into a centre forward. We need a creative outlet in the front three. We need someone who Højlund can work alongside with. We need a lot of reinforcements all over the pitch. But people saying that Erik ten Hag doesn't have a style of play, it's not true. He does have a style of play. It's just not working. It's really not working, and it's an eyesore a lot of the time this season. So that's what I wanted to say there. He does have a style of play. Do you trust him with more investment in the summer after everything he's learnt this season? Do you trust him? Do you allow him to work with our new structure to bring in players that are going to be able to succeed with his style of play? Do we give him that time to make it work? I would give him a shot. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but we gave him a chance. That's what I wanted to say on that. Samuel Brad says the players need fitness. 100%. Players need to improve their fitness. That's been an issue at the football club for a long time. Got a couple more super chats in as well. Told you says Dalot doesn't cut in. He attacks so mid and the flank is open. Dalot actually, I think, plays the inverted fullback role really, really well, and I think he's improving going forward. The only problem is, I think because of how empty we've been in the midfield, he maybe doesn't take the risk to overlap as much as he possibly could. And that's an issue we have because Erik ten Hag the midfield is non-existent because they get so high up the pitch. We need to be more structurally sound in that. he talks, if you watch this video, he talks about the risk taken in the midfielders pressing high up the pitch. But the issue is, when you do get caught, you have Casemiro running at about 12 miles an hour to try and get back, heavy, diving in. You know, Bruno Fernandes is in no man's land. Kobbie Mainoo's like on his own with about 3 players coming at him. I mean, the structure needs to be better, and I think a big chunk of that gets solved by putting someone extremely athletically capable as in Casemiro's position, who can win the duels, but he's also great on the football as well and good positionally. Marquito says it's hard to execute a style of play when you have the first 11 who play and suit different styles of tactics. Exactly. Duncania says, never believed this summer was the big one. INEOS only officially took over in February, looking to undo the last 10 years, get them a structure right first. The Irish Zombie says he has a style of play, seen it versus Wolves. You saw it successfully work against Wolves, but we have played that style of play all season, but it's just not worked a lot of the time. And we've been cut open, we've been punished. And it's been hard to watch. The Ghost Hunter says, what's the point of having a manager when these players keep sacking them? Sahil Aura says, outgoings will set the tone for the summer. Railkel Brown Amory says, it's cheaper to give Erik ten Hag 3 years. If it doesn't work, he's gone anyway, but they should give him the clear out and a new team. I agree. So everyone's saying, Arteta got given the time because you could see a style of play. Ten Hag has a style of play. I truly, truly think we should give him the backing to continue with it. And I do think with the right players and the right investments, he can make it work. And the one thing is, if he does make it work, wow, it will be great to watch. It would be great to watch. High pressing, high transition, turnover football with players with high stamina, good fitness, attacking players, you know, constant overflows of attacks, constant high turnovers. Yes, we will be put in positions where we're caught out. There will be situations where the risk won't pay off, but it will be great to watch. It will be great to watch if he can manage to get it to work. And it's a big if. Premier League's different to the Eredivisie. Will he get the players that can do it? There's a lot of different factors in this. But for everyone saying Arteta only got time because he had a style of play, Ten Hag also has a style of play. It's just not working at all. Is he going to be given the opportunity to get it to be able to work? That's the question. But look, everyone, this show is about John Murtough leaving Manchester United. Decade at the club, it has come to an end. Era's come to an end, in the words of Erik ten Hag. We are going with a new structure. We are employing, hopefully, the best in class. We'll see when it comes to the manager situation. But so far, Omar Barada, very happy. Jason Wilcoz, very happy. Dan Ashworth, very happy. Jean-Claude Blanc, working behind the scenes, very happy. Sir Dave Brailsford, if you've watched him speak, I'm very happy that he's involved as well. But I don't think this summer transfer window will be the big one. I do think we're going into this summer transfer window unprepared. And I think patience is going to be massively needed. Look, everyone, this summer transfer window might not be the big one that we think, but the wheels are starting to move, the cogs are starting to go, and that's what's really important. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Please hit a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Really do want to get into more the Erik ten Hag stuff recently because his back's against the wall and people are talking about him and they're saying statements that actually aren't true. So get the discussion going. Get in the comments what you think. Have a lovely rest of your day and we will see you on the next one.